Welcome to 1900s nostalgic vibe, the place where yesterday never truly fades. From timeless fashions and classic cars to the foods, toys, and games that shaped our childhood, we bring forgotten memories back to life. Trends come and go, but nostalgia lives forever. And here, it's always alive. Close your eyes for a moment and step back into the 1970s. The music of disco filled the air, the glow of lava lamps lit up living rooms, and every sidewalk felt like a stage for self-expression. The world was bold, colorful, and unafraid to stand out. The clothes people wore didn't just cover their bodies. They told stories about freedom, fun, and a society that was changing fast. Some of those looks were stylish, some were outrageous, and many of them look downright wild to us today. Yet, each one carries a charm that reminds us of a decade unlike any other. Today, we're looking at 20 fashion trends from the 70s that look wild today. Let's flip through the photo album of this unforgettable decade and relive the styles that turned heads, sparked conversations, and defined an era. Number 1. Then bell-bottoms. No fashion piece screams 70s louder than bell-bottoms. These flared pants hugged the hips and thighs, but widened dramatically from the knees down. Inspired partly by naval uniforms and popularized by rock stars, they became a staple in every young person's closet. The bigger the flare, the cooler you looked, especially when paired with towering platform shoes. Walking into a school, a roller rink, or even the grocery store, you'd see fabric swishing side to side with every step. Today, they look more like costumes than daily wear, but in the 70s, they were the height of fashion freedom. Number 2. Zan polyester suits. Polyester was the wonder fabric of the decade. It was cheap, wrinkle-resistant, and could be made in bold colors and patterns that cotton simply couldn't match. The result: polyester suits became a symbol of modern style. Men wore them to discos, weddings, and even the office. Often paired with wide collars and shiny shoes, they created a futuristic yet flashy look. Today, many laugh at their stiff feel and artificial shine. But in the 70s, polyester felt like the future, and everyone wanted to be part of it. Number 3. Sam platform shoes. Standing tall, literally, was the name of the game with platform shoes. These shoes added inches of height with thick, chunky soles and came in everything from plain leather to glitter-covered designs. Both men and women wore them, making the dance floor feel like a stage. They weren't exactly safe. Twisted ankles were common, but they were impossible to ignore. Nothing matched the feeling of strutting into a disco, hearing your heels click, and knowing all eyes were on you. Today, they seem impractical, but in the 70s, platforms were the ultimate fashion statement. Number 4. Leisure suits. Every fashionable man in the 70s had at least one leisure suit hanging in his closet. Made from polyester blends, they featured wide collars, zippered or button jackets, and flared trousers. They were meant to be casual but stylish, bridging the gap between business wear and nightlife. Thanks to pop culture moments, like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever, the leisure suit became iconic. Often in pastel colors, mustard yellow, or powder blue, they stood out in any room. Looking back, they seem loud and even comical, but at the time, wearing one meant you were modern, confident, and ready to dance. Number 5. Tie. Dye shirts. Dye wasn't just fashion. It was a cultural statement. Swirls of bright colors, often handmade, carried the spirit of peace, love, and rebellion that lingered from the 60s into the 70s. Every shirt was one of a kind, turning simple fabric into wearable art. Kids wore them at summer camps, teenagers at concerts, and adults at backyard barbecues. Dye said, "I'm free. I'm different. I'm part of something bigger." Today, dye has returned in softer tones, but in the 70s it was bold, loud, and unforgettable. Number 6. On wrap dresses. In 1974, Diane von Fürstenberg introduced the wrap dress, and women everywhere embraced it. Unlike stiff, structured dresses from earlier decades, the wrap design tied around the waist, flattering almost every body type. It was simple, stylish, and versatile enough for work or a night out. It also symbolized a new sense of independence. Women loved how it felt effortless yet elegant, a true reflection of the changing times. Today, wrap dresses are considered classics, but in the 70s, they were fresh, daring, and empowering. Number 7. Wild patterns. From paisley swirls to zigzagging geometrics, patterns in the 70s were bold and unapologetic. Shirts, pants, and even suits carried designs that almost seemed alive, moving with every step under the glow of disco lights. Inspired by psychedelic art and cultural shifts, these patterns turned clothing into conversation pieces. The louder, the better. Fashion was about being noticed. Today, many of those prints feel dizzying, but they perfectly captured the fearless spirit of the decade. Number 8 and hot pants. Nothing turned heads in the early 70s quite like hot pants. These short shorts, often made from leather, velvet, or bright satin, were daring and sometimes scandalous. They were paired with tall boots, crop tops, or blazers for a bold mix of playful and provocative. For many women, hot pants represented freedom and self-expression in a society that was changing fast. For others, they were shocking. Either way, they became an unforgettable trend that defined the early part of the decade. Today, they're remembered with a mix of laughter and awe. Number 9's oversized collars. Collars in the 70s weren't just part of a shirt. They were a fashion statement. Wide, pointed, and often worn outside the jacket, they framed the face in a dramatic way. They paired perfectly with open neck shirts and gold chains, especially for men on the disco scene. The look said, confident, and stylish at the time, even if today it feels exaggerated. Seeing those oversized collars now is like opening a time capsule marked disco fever. A number 10 Zen fringe jackets. Fringe had its roots in Western wear, but the 70s gave it a new life. Suede or leather jackets with long fringe along the arms and back became popular with hippies, musicians, and festival goers. The fringe moved with the body, making dancing or even just walking look more dramatic. It was playful, free-spirited, and a little rebellious. Today, fringe feels like a retro costume detail, but back then, it was a sign you belonged to the cool, laid-back crowd. Number 11's leisure suits. In the 1970s, leisure suits became the ultimate weekend uniform for men. Usually made of polyester, they came in pastel shades, often with wide collars, and sometimes even paired with matching shoes. They were marketed as stylish, comfortable, and versatile, perfect for a night at the disco or a casual Sunday dinner. Looking back now, they seem almost like a parody of themselves, but at the time, they represented modern coolness. The leisure suit has since become a symbol of 70s kitsch, remembered with a smile rather than a serious fashion staple. Number 12 platform shoes. If there was ever a shoe that screamed the 1970s, it was the platform. Men and women both wore them, often with heels that added several inches in height. They came in shiny vinyl, glitter finishes, and bold colors, making a fashion statement you couldn't ignore. People wore them to clubs, concerts, and even to the office, sometimes towering so high that walking was a challenge. Today, they look outrageous, but they perfectly capture the playful, bold spirit of the disco decade. Number 13, Velour Tracksuits. Velour was everywhere in the 70s, and the tracksuit made from it was both comfortable and stylish. Bright jewel tones, shiny fabric, and elastic waistbands made them ideal for lounging or running errands. They weren't about athletics as much as they were about looking trendy while relaxing. Celebrities like John Travolta helped popularize the look, and it became a staple of suburban fashion. Now, Velour tracksuits feel more like costume pieces, but they still bring a wave of nostalgia when spotted. Number 14's in wrap dresses. Designed by Diane von Fürstenberg in the early 70s, the wrap dress became a fashion revolution. It was flattering for almost every figure and gave women an easy, stylish outfit for work or social events. Often made with bold prints and silky fabrics, it combined comfort with elegance. The wrap dress symbolized women's growing independence and presence in the professional world. While wrap dresses are still around today, the 70s versions, with their striking colors and patterns, look especially daring by modern standards. Number 15, the big collars. The 70s were all about drama, and nothing showed it better than oversized collars. Whether on men's shirts or women's blouses, collars spread wide and pointed long, often peeking out over jackets. These collars were usually paired with bold prints or polyester fabrics, adding to the flamboyant style. They became a signature part of the disco look, visible on dance floors everywhere. Today, they seem comically exaggerated, but they remind us of how fearless fashion once was. Number 16, Diane halter tops. Summertime in the 70s often meant halter tops, tied around the neck and leaving the back bare. They were playful, daring, and perfect for concerts, festivals, and beach parties. Paired with flared jeans or maxi skirts, halter tops became part of the carefree hippie-inspired style. They symbolized freedom and self-expression, part of the larger cultural shift of the decade. While versions still exist today, the vintage 70s halter, often handmade or crocheted, remains unforgettable. Number 17, then Corduroy Everything. Corduroy wasn't just for pants in the 70s. It showed up in jackets, skirts, and even overalls. Thick whale corduroy, often in earthy tones like rust, brown, and mustard, became the unofficial fabric of the decade. It was durable, warm, and had a tactile quality that people loved. Students wore corduroy blazers on campuses, while children often had corduroy jumpers or trousers. Nowadays, corduroy feels more like a vintage throwback, but in the 70s it was a major part of everyday style. Number 18, dye hot pants. Hot pants burst onto the fashion scene in the early 70s and caused quite a stir. These were extremely short shorts, often made of denim, velvet, or even leather. They were bold, sexy, and controversial, but they also reflected women's growing freedom in fashion choices. Hot pants were worn to clubs, parties, and sometimes even as part of work uniforms in trendy restaurants. Today, they look almost shocking, but in the 70s they represented daring self-expression. Number 19's in Bohemian maxi dresses. The Bohemian look of the late 60s carried into the 70s, and maxi dresses became the go-to outfit for many women. Flowing floor-length, and often decorated with paisley or floral prints, these dresses felt both relaxed and romantic. They were worn to festivals, casual outings, or even as maternity wear, thanks to their loose fit. The Boho maxi reflected the era's emphasis on comfort, natural living, and freedom. While they occasionally come back into style, nothing quite matches the dreamy 70s version. Number 20, teen three-piece suits for men. The three-piece suit, with a vest included, was the height of sophistication in the 70s. But unlike earlier decades, these suits were often made of polyester and featured bold patterns like plaid or pinstripes. Wide ties and flared trousers completed the look, making it unmistakably of its time. Men wore them to offices, weddings, and even nightclubs, blurring the line between formal and casual. Looking back, they appear flashy and loud compared to today's suits, but they were the definition of stylish in their day. And there you have it, 20 fashion trends from the 1970s that look wild to us today. But back then, they were part of everyday life. Each of these styles tells a story, not just about clothes, but about the spirit of the time. The 70s were bold, colorful, and unafraid to take chances. From the disco lights to the carefree summers, fashion wasn't just something you wore. It was a way to express freedom, confidence, and individuality. Looking back now, we might smile, we might laugh, and sometimes we might even wonder, what were we thinking? But that's the beauty of nostalgia. It reminds us that every generation has its own flavor, its own heartbeat, and its own way of saying, this is who we are. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend who remembers the 70s, and subscribe for more journeys into the past. Until next time, keep those memories alive, and remember, fashion fades, but nostalgia never goes out of style.